Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Rummery. I want to welcome you to the sixth and final week of Restore Your Battery for Coaches. What a journey it's been. We've covered so much ground. I'm thrilled to be here with you, and I'm hoping today that we can explore how to sustain our gains. So, we've done a number of different exercises and activities over the last 6 weeks. And I really want to get into, well, how can we sustain those gains, right? So, one of the things that we started with was just a visualization of our dream coaching practice. So, this whole program is structured around how do we build a bigger and more full engagement battery for our coaching practice so that we can achieve ultimately our dream coaching practice. How do we get there? We need that higher levels of sustainable engagement to be able to achieve that. So we spent some initial time really thinking about what does our dream practice look like, and then we sort of put it within the context of our life, right? Where is our current practice? Um, as it relates to other priorities in our lives. And so we talked about our family, we talked about certainly our mental health, and also I think we talked about like our commitment to self improvement and learning. And all of these are big priorities, I think, in many of our lives. And so, how does our coaching practice fit within this? And then how do those priorities interact with one another? How does our family or our focus on mental health or our focus on learning, how does that impact our coaching practice and vice versa? Very important to kind of think through how, where does our coaching practice fit within the rest of our life? So we started with that kind of visualization, what our dream practice is about, and where does our current practice sort of fit within our life with an idea towards, well, how can we improve? How can we prioritize our coaching practice? How can we connect it to other priorities in our life? We moved from there to start looking actually at our engagement battery, right? So we moved into a space where we looked at how full our batteries were, and a couple of parts to the engagement part of the engagement battery. Now, engagement requires a target, right? So in this case, it's our coaching practice and ultimately our dream practice. So we explored two parts to engagement that really linked to to that engagement. One was focused on expressing our values. We know that we get energized in our work, in our coaching practice, when we are able to express our most critical values in it, right? And we went through a whole exercise with the personal values sorter. We identified five critical values, personal values that we would want to make sure to try to express through our coaching somehow. And then we talked about destructive values, right? There's a smaller set of destructive values that these are things that we encounter in the work that we're doing that could totally erode our engagement, erode our, our energy. And so we talked through that, and I'm hoping that through that process, you gained some insights into, well, yeah, this is how I can potentially lean in or express some of these really critical values that I haven't really been focused on before. So that's hopefully a critical learning. So the first part was around expressing values. The second part of engagement, filling up your battery, is related to our ability to emotionally invest in our coaching practice, right? And the idea here is that we all have personal relationships in our lives. We have personal relationships at work, and we also have an emotional relationship with the work itself and the organization that we belong to, et cetera. And so the second part, we really wanted to examine the degree to which we felt compelled or able to really invest ourselves emotionally in the work versus coming up against blocks, right, that prevented us from from emotionally investing. And we took that assessment, the drivers and deterrence of commitment, the DDC, and that, I think, shed some light on, well, what are those things that are really driving our our emotional investment, and what are those things that might be really blocking it. And again, I'm hoping after that exercise you had some insights into, well, what is it that is helping me or hindering me from really going all in, from really sort of building a deeper emotional relationship with the work itself and the and the coaching practice. Um, from there, we kind of made a switch from how full our battery is to really looking at capacity, focusing on the sustainable part of sustainable engagement. And and here we're talking less about our coaching practice in particular, but more about our life in general. And there are two parts to that sustainable engagement, if you recall. One was our drive to thrive, right? The extent to which we are filled with that great sense of, kind of that life force, that vitality, that openness, flexibility, and we really kind of explored three facets of that thriving. So it was hope and optimism, that resilience and stamina, and then ultimately the openness to relationships and new experiences. And if we are able as people to build a greater sense of hope and optimism, if I have a strong sense of hope about the future, the best days are ahead of us, and I couple that with a feeling that I am quite resilient, I've built up my stamina mentally, physically, for the work that I'm doing, for my life, and then I have this open mindset, right? This openness to meet new people and to learn new things and experience, and to be open to new experiences. If we're able to kind of accomplish all of those things, our battery is going to be bigger. The capacity to engage is going to be enhanced, right? And so I'm hoping that coming out of that exercise, those reflections, that you had some clear ideas about what you wanted to target to build that sense of thriving. And then finally, last week we focused on the second part of building capacity, which is building a sense of control, gaining a sense of control. And again, this is really about, it's really about, I use that river metaphor, right? It's really about not controlling the river, but rather finding ways that you can navigate within it, finding ways that you feel confident that you can, that you can get to where you need to go, even though the river itself is moving at a fast clip. So the three parts to that sense of control revolve around emotional regulation, which are things like self-esteem, self-efficacy, emotional, intelligence. It's really just kind of making sure that you're able to kind of regulate your own sort of emotional environment, right? And understand your emotions, and certainly understand other things that, other people, what other people are thinking and feeling. So that's a big part. Another part is that commitment to excellence. And the idea here is that we really need to understand what's that next level. What's that next layer? What's that next, achievement that we need that will help us understand like where we need to focus. And that commitment to excellence is not a commitment to perfection. We're not talking about that. And I think I use that the analogy or metaphor on I've never seen a one step treasure map, right? There are lots of steps, and we want to be thinking about what's that next step towards the treasure, not trying to get there all in one shot, which I think that's where a focus on perfection can get us into some trouble. um, so yes, that commitment to excellence, having a clear path to improving your capabilities, improving your improving towards some idea of excellence. And then finally, the third is really around your ability to influence the world around you. And there's kind of two parts to that. One would be influencing others. So having the influence skills that you need to be able to, to get people kind of aligned with what you need. And then the second one is being able to influence the events around you, and in particular, events in the future. And the idea here was like, well, what seeds can you plant right now that will grow into things that you need in the future? Like if you need a decision, at work, let's do a coaching practice example, right? So if you're, what are you doing now to plant seeds that will yield potential new clients in the future, right? So it's that proactive mindset that is such a critical part of that sense of control. So yes, we covered a ton of ground. We covered how to build, or how to fill your battery, build a bigger battery. And now we are at the sort of the end of the, nearing the end of the program, where we really want to start figuring out how to weave these things all together. So one of the things that I want you to do as part of this week's exercises, and even before we get into the reflection exercises, is just to remind yourself what were the key learnings that you had these last 6 weeks, and go back to your Restore battery report, go back to your battery quiz results, go through some of your notes from the last 6 weeks, and think about what have you learned that will help you on the path towards getting to your dream practice. I'd also like you to think about some next steps related to Restore itself, right? So this program is really focused on your coaching practice, and I think it was meant to really help you kind of dial into something that I think each of us is really passionate about. But I also want you to think a little bit about like, well, how could you leverage some of what you learned, some of these frameworks, some of these tools in your executive coaching, maybe not with other coaches, but with leaders. So we wouldn't be necessarily talking about their coaching practice, but we would certainly be talking about their leadership role, changes that they're trying to make in the organization, whatever that engagement target is. We can sort of use this tool and this framework to be able to do that. So I want you to start thinking about that. And I do want to let you know that we are planning our coaching certification process for Restore sometime in the fall. And we'll definitely be sending you out a note or two, and probably reaching out as well, just to see if you're interested and would like to be certified as a Restore coach, and really dig into some of the tools and things that we've discussed, so that you can leverage it in your own coaching practice. So in closing, thank you for taking me on this journey with you. It's been fun. I've had amazing conversations with many of you. And I'm super excited to see how things, progress over the next week. And of course, here for any questions. And if you want to talk anything through, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.